Shuklam Baradaram Vishum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannabadanam Dhyayet Sarva Viknopashantaye Apara Karuna Sindhum Jnanadam Shantarupinam Sri Chandrasekharendra Pranamami Mudanvaham. Hindu Dharma Part 4, The Shastras and Modern Life, Chapter 1, The Cure for the Disease called Modern Civilization. People are caught between two groups holding opposing views. On one side, they feel the pull of individuals like us who maintain that they must take to the path shown by the Shastras. On the other, they find themselves drawn in the opposite direction by the reformers who want the Shastras to be changed. From a youthful age, people nowadays are used to reading reports extolling the changes that go by the name of reforms. It is all due to the influence of modern education. All this notwithstanding, people have not altogether given up their old customs. A fraction of the dharmas laid down in the Shastras and followed for ages is still to be seen in our domestic and social life. On the one hand, there is the habit formed by the custom, and on the other, the habit now being learned through the new system of education. It is universally recognized that contentment is lacking in the modern way of life. People do not dispute the fact that the peace that once existed in the previous generations no longer obtains today. They have more money now, or that at any rate is the belief. But are they yet free from poverty? The claim is made that everything is in abundance, that we grow more food than what is needed. Yet there is anxiety everywhere about the supply of essentials. In the place of the old thatched hut or modest tiled house now stands a multi-story building. Then we had just 4 or 5 utensils to cook a breakfast made of palm fronds, containers made of ground shells. Now the house is crammed with all sorts of articles and gadgets that are part of today's civilized life. People enjoy new comfort and make newer acquisitions, yet they are not happy and contented as were their forefathers. Even now, there are people who at heart long for a life of peace lived according to the old tradition, but they do not have the courage to give up either the trammels of modern life or the feeling of pride in the changes effected under the reformist movement. They are in an awkward predicament because they are not fully committed either to the traditional way of life or to the new. Let me tell you how people cannot decide for themselves, how they are neither here nor there. In most homes, you will see Gandhiji's portrait and mine. Now, Gandhiji advocated widow marriage, and I ask people to wear shikha. Those who respect Gandhiji do not, however, have the courage to marry widows, nor do they have the courage to wear a shikha. Poor people. They have no moorings and keep swinging between one set of beliefs and another. We must have the courage of our convictions and unflinching faith in the Shastras. If we start making small compromises in our adherence to the Shastras, it will eventually mean following only such spiritual practices as we find convenient in our everyday life. Some people tell me with all good intentions, the Dharma Shastras are the creation of rishis. You are like a rishi. You must make changes in the Shastras in keeping with the times. Their view is that just as we remove weeds from the fields, we must change our customs and duties according to our times. If I take out some rites and observances from the Shastras now, thinking them to be weeds, later another man will turn up and remove some more for the same reason. At this rate, a time will come when we will not be able to distinguish the weed from the crop and the entire field will be barren. It is important to realize that if we are to remain true to the Shastras, it is not because they represent the views of the seers, but because they contain the rules founded on the Vedas, which are nothing but what Ishvara has ordained. That is the reason why we must follow them. It is my duty to see that the Shastras are preserved as they are. I have no authority to change them. We must not give up the Shastric way of life, thinking it to be difficult to follow. If we are not carried away by the glitter of modern
mundane life, if we reduce our wants and do not run after money, there will be no need to abandon the customs and rites laid down by our canonical texts. If we are not obsessed with making money, there will be plenty of time to think of the Lord, and peace, contentment, and happiness will regain. Money is not essential to the performance of the rites enjoined by the Shastras, nor is pomp and circumstances essential to worship. Even dried tulasi and bilva leaves are enough to perform puja. The rice we cook for ourselves will do as the Naivedya. Quote, marriage also is a Shastric ceremony. We spend a lot of money on it. What about such expenses? End quote. It is asked. All the lavish display we see at weddings today are unnecessary and do not have the sanction of the Shastras. Specifically, the dowry that forms such a substantial part of the marriage expenses has no spiritual sanction at all. If money were important to the performance of the rites enjoined by our canonical texts, it would mean that our religion is meant for rich people. In truth, it is not so. Of the four aims of life, Dharma, material acquisitions, desire, and liberation, we seek gratification of Kama alone in the form of pleasure, love, etc. And to have our desires satisfied, we keep struggling to acquire material things. Our efforts must be directed towards obtaining liberation through the practice of Dharma. All that we need to do for this ideal is to resolve to live a simple life. There should be no compulsion to run after money and other material goods. It would naturally become easier for us to practice Dharma and reap the ultimate fruit, that is the essential, that is eternal bliss. Hari Om. It would naturally become easier for us to practice Dharma and reap the ultimate fruit, that is eternal bliss. Hari Om Tat Sat.